Donald J. Brower here with the GSHSW.com Near Fall podcast. We're right at the cusp of sectionals. We're getting ready to roll. Postseason time is upon us. But before we get into that, let's thank our sponsors. First, Champion Athletes, Dan Warnikoff. We've talked about this before. Your car and body are the same. You wouldn't put cheap gas in a Maserati. Why are you putting horrible food in yours? Go out and get the best performance you can. Fuel up right. Dan can help you do that. Athlete, non-athlete, in-state, out-of-state. Give them a look. Champion Athletes. The Apex Wrestling School, founded in 2002 by Damian Logan and his roommate, Dane Tabano. 4 locations in New Jersey, 1 in New York. Apex Wrestling School and the Harrington Companies. Recycling, demolition, Hoffman Landscaping. You want to make your house nice? You want to rip your house down? You want it just to change? The Harrington Companies are your way to go. Now, we had some good coverage last week, some really solid matchups. On Wednesday, we were at senior night at West Morris. Central wound up beating Mendham pretty steadily, handily, 60-18. Kind of thought that was going to happen. Tough year for Mendham. You know, they have some good kids, but they don't have that experience. And West Morris has just been on a roll this year. I mean, super dominant, been on a great run. So I kind of thought that was going to go that way, but it was really great to get out there and kind of cover a rivalry match. James Clark and I were on the call, had a great time there. One match we didn't get to, but would be worth noting is the next night at Blair Academy in Blairstown, Blair beat Del Barton 30-25. It came down to the last match. Their heavyweight won by Tet Fall, but great performance by Del Barton, you know, showing they belong on the national stage. And that was just a really good match. I got a chance to watch some of the highlights and see what had happened. It was a really good showing by Del Barton. They were right there with a quality program like Blair. Where they really weren't was Friday night, but there's been a lot of conversation and debate. They wrestled Mount Olive on Friday. If I remember correctly, there were 11 forfeits by both teams. I understand it's a conference match. The problem is it's so close to sectionals, and then you don't want to get your kids hurt. It's after a big match for Del Barton. That should have been scheduled early. That should have been something that should have been done earlier in the season. I understand the snow pushed it back when we had a little snowstorm issue. So that pushed it back, but you always want to see those top teams compete. And we were actually talking about going and covering it, but then we kind of got the word that maybe they're not going to wrestle everybody on both sides. So we wound up shifting our coverage to a really good matchup in Sussex. We got to see High Point and Warren Hills. High Point won 41-28. It was the last match for Coach Gardner as the boys head coach. He's going to move over to the girls side. Billy Smith is going to move up into the head coaching position. Great replacement for Gardner, somebody who went through the program the entire time, from the youth program up, graduated, made the States, won a couple titles, but hell of a guy to take over, and I don't think they're going to miss a beat. Match should have been a little closer. Warren Hills had a couple guys out. I know Corey Lee was banged up. I think it was he was injured. And then for Tyler Redfield, it was a coach's decision and he didn't wrestle. So could have been a little closer, but High Point started at 120, so they got away from some of those really, like Zamaretta and Webb down low. Weathered the storm early on with Reinhardt and Piccioni not giving up the pins and stuff like that, and then built just the lead and kept it going there. So great job by High Point. And before we go too far, thank you so much to the High Point Wrestling Club for having us out there to cover it. It was an honor to be able to cover the coach's last match as the boys coach. I got a chance to see some really big moments for him in our time here with the site. So to be on hand for that was great. And you could tell he wasn't really thrilled with having it be, and we have stuff on social media, but he wasn't thrilled being the center of attention because they announced something before the match, and he was not really keen on it being. He looked very uncomfortable, but he's a great guy, a great coach, and I got a chance to talk to him afterwards. It's up on our socials there. So that was one as well. So before we get into our other upcoming coverage and kind of what we're doing, we got to get into my wrestler of the week. So my wrestler of the week, I had a bunch that I kind of had for consideration, and I mentioned that if you win your 100th, you have to be considered. So with that being said, congratulations to Colin Minier from West Milford. He was my wrestler of the week last week. He won his 100th this week, but I'm going to go with two wrestlers. It's going to be my co-wrestlers of the week because they both won their 100th, and they're two different type of wrestlers. So it's very impressive of me that they did this. You have Voorhees senior Logan Wiecoreck, who won his 100th, and you have Hanover Park Jr. Vincenzo LaValle, who won his 100th. Now, Vincenzo's was on Friday at county, so we missed it. We found out about it. They posted about it. I wanted to give him consideration. And same with Logan. For Vincenzo, being a junior, you're not even into the States yet, and you're already at your 100th. That kind of makes a really good career. We're talking about somebody who finished third at 190 2 years in a row, and I know he really wants to get to the top of that podium, but that's a hell of a run to get your 100th before you even start the postseason as a junior. So keep an eye on him for this year and next year, barring injury. That's a real good shot at putting up some great numbers in this area. And then for Logan, he sort of has taken a next step the last year or so. He was a very good wrestler when he came in as a freshman. I had spoken with him. I talked to his coach. He told me it seemed to be with the Voorhees Wrestling Club. He's really stepped it up last offseason and offseason before, and it's just been kind of that hammer for Voorhees. So congratulations, Logan. Well-deserved. And, I'm sure the town and the school are very proud of both of those guys, but they're going to be my wrestlers of the week. Now, we're going to go to my rankings. We'll talk a little bit about the rankings and kind of some stuff that came up, but we have some division winners in those rankings before we get to that, so people can kind of get an idea of what I'm looking at with here. So in the Big North, your Independence Division champion is Passaic Valley. It's their fourth straight that they've at least had a share of it. They split it last year with West Milford. In the Liberty Division, PCTI wins it again this year. In the Unite Division, St. Joe's Montvale. When you go to the New Jersey Interscholastic Conference, in the Colonial Division is Rutherford. Liberty Division is Pompton Lake, so we got a chance to see their clinching match when we were there a couple weeks ago. It's on YouTube, so if you want to check it out. And in the Meadowlands Division, it's Hasbrook Heights. Now, the Northwest Jersey Athletic Conference, there's still going to be a couple matches to be wrestled, but it's not going to affect who wins. It's going to be, more for placing and third, fourth in that range. I know we have a couple that were rescheduled. Excuse me. I know we have Roxbury and Randolph coming up next week. Madison, Pequannock, and there's one more that I'm drawing a blank on, but they're going to be wrestling next week as it goes on. So in the American Division, it's Del Barton. They clinched it with their win over Mount Olive. They were both tied going into it and clinched it there. National Division, Sparta, a team I told people to watch out for, has done very good. Struggled a little bit late with some of the matchups they've been in, but has been on a roll, and I expect really good things from them going forward. Coach Trappy's got that team on a nice trajectory, and they're young too, so they're not losing a ton. So I expect them to be just as good next year. In the Freedom Division, Kittatinny, we were up there when they wrestled Newton a couple weeks ago and clinched that. Colonial Division, Lenape Valley. The Liberty Division, Hanover Park, who we spoke about before with LaValle. And in the Independence Division, Mountain Lakes. Now, Mountain Lakes, did a great job, won it. Same with Hanover Park, they won it earlier. I'd like to see a little more restructuring in that division. I know there's been rumors, and I haven't really speculated on it, but I've been told there's a few teams from outside the Northwest Jersey Athletic Conference and other local conferences who have submitted applications to join up, and if they do, it'd be really, really solid divisions, and I think they could do a nice restructuring almost on school size and then maybe location to kind of keep everything local. Because what I want to say, and let me do Skyland first before I get into my little rant about the divisions. Skylands, Phillipsburg won the Delaware Valley won the Raritan, and Somerville won the Valley. So I mentioned this before in a previous podcast that I think it should be done. I would love to bring back rivalry nights. And what we should be doing is promoting the sport. Throwing matchups on in quads and all these other matchups is ridiculous. Wednesday nights, Friday nights, and even Saturday nights should be your matchups where you get these kids to come out, get the youth program involved, get everybody, involved. Have those big matchups. Have a Knowles Hills match on a Wednesday night in front of a packed auditorium. Have the different matchups so that way people can come out, because you want to get that kid who may not be big into the sport. They see that moment and they light up and realize, I can do that. And that's where you might get your next Brian Saldano or Evan Mugallion or LaValle. These guys who come through, and, a Luke Stanich, the guys who come through the program and start as kids and go all the way through and make your program better. So that's just my 2 cents, but hopefully they switch to something more like that with the divisions. And maybe even if you're bringing new teams, talking about the Northwest Jersey Athletic Conference, beef up some of these divisions. Like, for example, with Lenape Valley, they had to wrestle 3 teams to win their conference, and 2 of them didn't have full lineup. So that's, to me, I'd rather have, a 6-7 team division for each one. So that way it's and earning on the mat. So that's my rant about that. So I'm gonna get off my my high horse with that and kind of just keep going with the rankings. I don't want to get myself in any more trouble. But we'll talk about the rankings. Let's start with the Morris rankings. So Morris pretty much stayed the same. Nothing real crazy with anything we did there. So Morris, 10 is Butler, 9 is Morris Knowles, 8 is Morris Hills, 7 is Montville, 6 is Jefferson, 5 is Roxbury, 4 is West Morris, 3 is Hanover Park, 2 is Mount Olive, 1 is Del Bar. The biggest change you'll see from last week is Roxbury beat Jefferson head-to-head, so they jumped up a couple spots and kind of slotted in. I think that'll kind of be how everything works out for that going forward. It looks pretty well. I'm sure there's somebody who can probably sneak in and knock a Butler off or a Morris Knowles, but it's pretty solid with that. Now, we go to the HWS. This kind of locked in with some matches that we had. As we said, the Warren Hills match, that kind of locked in where I thought at the bottom there with High Point. But you got number 10 Voorhees, number 9 North Hunterdon, number 8 Warren Hills, number 7 High Point, number 6 Sparta. Now this is where it kind of changed for me, and this is kind of something I decided to switch, and I think it went well from what I did. So number 5 is Pope John, and number 4 is Kittatinny. Now, I've mentioned in the past how I thought that maybe, there might have been an issue with how I thought they'd compare with each other and who would have done what. And I was kind of eating it. And there was a couple matches they had. Tiebreaker, or how I looked at it, with some similar matchups and who would wrestle each other. The one thing I did was I looked at the Jefferson match. That was the big match for me with everything going on. And what happened was Kittatinny beat Jefferson 40-26. Pope John lost to Jefferson 42-28. So that could be a narrow view, but they've wrestled some same opponents. They won those matches. They did what they had to do with the other ones. That's kind of where I'm going with it. So, that's kind of what I look at, and that's kind of how I go with that. And then with the rest of that, number 3 is Hunterdon Central, number 2 Del Valle, and number 1 Phillipsburg. And they all wrestled each other on the mat, and it kind of shakes out that way. So that was a good job, with that and how they did. Now, let's go to the Passaic. And this is going to be the interesting one because I've already gotten calls from some people on stuff. So then I'll explain why I did what I did. Number 10 is Hawthorne. Number 9 is Wayne Valley. Number 8 is DePaul. Number 7 is Pompton Lakes. Now, here's where we get tricky. Number 6 is West Milford. Number 5 is Wayne Hills. Number 4 is Lakeland. What's tricky about that is we have a triangle situation here. Lakeland beat Wayne Hills 45-31, lost to West Milford 37-42. Wayne Hills beat West Milford 39-32, but lost to Lakeland. And West Milford beat Lakeland, but lost to Wayne Hills. So, with that being said, I didn't change where anybody went because we had the triangle situation. So if I already thought Lakeland was 4, Wayne Hills was 5, West Milford was 6, nothing on the map changes that for me. So if there's no reason to change it, I'm not going to change it. That's just how I looked at it. So if you disagree with me, I understand, but that's kind of how I looked at it. All the matches, I mean, honestly, the main reason I would have put Lakeland first in this situation is they beat Wayne Hills by 14 points. Everything else was within, a couple points. So that anything, that was my tiebreaker. And then I put, Wayne Hills beat West Milford. So that if that was any way to break the try, that's how I did. Just in case anybody was curious about it, and was wondering how that came about. Now, number 3 is Passaic Valley. Number 2 is Clifton, and number 1 is PCTI. It's pretty much been the same. I know we fluctuated with some people there, but I think we got the rankings pretty good this year. I think it was really well. It was easy to kind of get everything rolling through with what we did. So I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but I'll Barry Horowitz it a little bit. I think I did okay with the rankings. It's always, crazy when you have a team that sneaks up out of nowhere, and we didn't really have too much of that this year. I had heard Sparta was going to be good, so they were kind of my one to keep an eye on, and they've kind of lived up to the hype. But everybody else has kind of been, where they at. Now, the coverage this week is going to be a little different. We're going to be doing a ton of coverage, but it's going to not be as much live streaming as you think. Now, Monday starts the sections. You're going to have the quarterfinals at the host school at 5 o'clock on 2 mats. So you're going to have, for example, Passaic Tech. Yesterday we were talking about them. They're going to be hosting. They're the 1 seed. They're going to wrestle West Orange. Livingston and Bloomfield are going to wrestle each other. And then whatever 2 winners of that win or move on, they're going to wrestle each other at 7 o'clock. So we're going to have, and this is the second year I've done this, we're going to have an accelerated sectional. So some sectionals we're going to keep an eye on in our coverage area. Obviously, North 1, Group 5, Passaic Tech, as I mentioned. At Clifton, the other side of the bracket, Clifton, the 2 seed, he's going to face Passaic, the 7 seed, in the first round, and then face the winner of North Bergen, Union City. Tons of what we're going to be doing with that. But the ones I want you guys to keep an eye out, because we're going to actually have people at there, is I am going to personally, Shane Dunn is going to be at North 1, Group 2 at Jefferson. It's going to be Jefferson, the 1 seed, versus 8 Rams, and they're going to face the winner of West Milford Lakeland. So, and then the winner of that will move on to Friday's sectional finals. I am going to be at Hanover Park. I will be there, and that will be the North 2 Group 1. Hanover Park will wrestle Glen Ridge, and they'll face the winner of Mountain Lake Secaucus. And then the winner of that will move on. If Hanover Park wins both matches, they'll host. If not, it'll be the highest remaining seed. And then James Clark will be at Warren Hills. The number 2 seed, Warren Hills, will face 7 seed Par Hills. And on the other side, number 3 Cranford will face number 6 Morris Hill. So we're going to have reporters out there. We're going to have some post-match stuff online on our socials afterwards. Then, depending on who wins, we're going to have a match on Wednesday on the live stream, pending NJSA approval. I've already kind of gotten the idea that certain matches we were looking at are okay. It's already been talked with the athletic director. So once that happens, that will go up and we'll announce where we're going to be at Wednesday. And then Friday, we're looking at doing a group semi. There's talk of us doing a couple. We've kind of reached out to teams we think will advance. We've got 2 or 3 that I've said, if they advance and they host the match, cool. So we just got to wait and make sure that doesn't have anything. Because the way it works now, is just in case anybody wants to know, is once you get to certain matches like regions, sectional finals, and group semis, you got to get approval by the NJSA and pay a fee. The thing is, you have to wait to make sure NJ.com or NFHS, who are their broadcast partners, don't want those matches for themselves. Then you get to pick the match afterwards. So that's all we're waiting on there. But yeah, we're going to have a really, really good amount. And like, if you want, you can check out the brackets online for what we're doing and, have their, and then Sunday's the group finals. It states it's all NJ.com. Hopefully I'll be on a call for one of the matches. We're not sure yet. But that'll be down at Rutgers. So then we'll be able to crown the champions then. And after that, it's all the individual tournament. You're going to have districts, which right now we're looking at doing 3. We're kind of working out the logistics of a lot of the stuff, but we're, getting that done. And then we're looking at doing Region 1 again at West Milford. And then before you know it, it's state tournament time. And, we're less than a month away from crowning the 2023-24 state champions. Both boys and girls are going to be doing the girls tournament as well in Atlantic City. So, I mean, we're right here in the crux. We're ready to roll and do what we need to do. And you could still be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, if you own a local business, fill out your logo here. It goes directly to me. I get back with you in 24 hours. We had 3 people reach out from our live streams today or this week and have sponsored. So it's never too late. We're incredibly inexpensive for the product you get and what you get delivered. So please don't think it's out of your budget. I'm more than willing to work with a small business. I'm not trying to retire off this. As much as my wife would love for me to go to Disney and live there, I'm not doing that. So, I just want to help spread the word about your business and get it set up there. And you can also email me at admin@GardenStateHSWrestling.com. Like I said, I reply within 24 hours and, we go from there. Also, follow us on social media on Facebook at GardenStateHSWrestling.com, on X at GardenStateHSW, on Instagram, GardenStateHSWrestling. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. You get notified when we have some of these upcoming matches, when we have this podcast and everything else we do. I'm going to be announcing also here soon, right before the end of the season. We're kind of talking to a couple schools. The All-Star match is coming back in May. It's going to be there for the 11th year. We're looking at a centrally located school. We have a couple of them in mind. We're looking at doing that in May, so we're going to be getting that going. And I think the format we had last year was really well received with the reporters picking a team and then wrestling off. So it'll be fun to see. I mean, I have to defend my crown again. I don't know. Maybe I'll retire on top and just lord over everybody. But you're still going to have the All-Star match, so that'll be fun. And then just a quick update. I know people have been coming up to me, shaking my hand, telling me, and supporting me when we made a couple weeks ago about our name and somebody else's name. We've kind of come to an agreement to where I think it's beneficial for everybody. And what we're doing, that it's going to be resolved soon. I think both him and I have reached a beneficial agreement that we think works best for both of us. So we can get back to doing what everybody wants to do, and that's focus on the kids and get the wrestling involved. So I think we were going to be really good with that. So thank you everyone for the support. I really appreciate it. Everybody coming up to me telling me they love my podcast, they love the live streams I do, they love everything we do. Like I said before, and I say it again, I really appreciate that stuff. For me right now, it's me talking in my kitchen, to you, but for people to come up and say they see my stuff, they love, they agree with what I'm talking about. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I mean that. So, listen, it's time. We've talked about it. All the stuff is going on this week. We got the sectionals coming up. There'll be some other matches. Obviously, there's going to be teams, picking up matches that didn't make sectionals and stuff like that. But now it's time. It's time for the postseason. It's ready to go. We're kicking it off. We're kicking it off Monday with the sectional quarters and semifinals. And before you know it, we're taking that trip to Atlantic City. So you get on this train. I'm the conductor. We're ready to pull out for the postseason. So for Jared, the podcasting legend, I'm Donald J. Brower. We'll see you next week.